Hello and welcome. This is going to be our lecture video for January 6th. Let's go ahead and get started, get those notes out. Here we have some numerical patterns for us to add the next three terms to. So copy down that first one. The pattern goes 1, 6, 11, 16. So what are going to be the next three terms? So we're not told what type of numerical pattern this is, whether it's an adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing pattern. We have to figure that out. So first, check and see if the numbers are increasing or decreasing. Here they're increasing, so we know it has to be either an adding or a multiplying pattern. And then always check the adding pattern first because it's a little bit easier. All right, what do I have to add to 1 to get to 6? Well, it should be pretty obvious, but if you can't figure it out, you could go the other direction, do 6 minus 1, and you'll get 5, and then you'll realize that we have to add 5 to get from 1 to 6. All right, let's see if adding 5 works to get us from 6 to 11. It does. To get from 11 to 16, that's another plus 5. So now I've confirmed that this is a adding by 5 pattern. And my next three terms are going to be 21, 26, and 31. I'm just adding 5 each time. All right, next one. So now I can tell these numbers are going down, so it's either a dividing or a subtracting pattern. I think it's pretty clear that this is subtracting because the gaps in between these numbers are the same each time. And with dividing patterns, you get closer and closer to 0, not necessarily more and more negative. So it's almost certainly a subtracting pattern. What am I subtracting by? Well, I could do negative 230 minus a negative 30 and figure out that I must be subtracting 200 each time. And then just confirm by making sure that that gets us from our term number 1 to term number 2. This is term number 0. And then make sure that works to get us from term number 2 to term number 3. All right, and then just keep doing it. If we subtract by 200 again, we would get negative 830. Subtract by 200 again, we get negative 1030. Subtract by 200 again, we get negative 1230. All right, keep going. Now we're missing a term in the middle of a sequence. And again, we don't know if this is an adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing pattern. We've got to figure that out. But if we look at the three numbers that we can see, it looks like it's very similar to this one, that is a subtracting pattern. So now we just got to figure out what we're subtracting by. You could do negative 316 minus a negative 216, and you'll get it's negative 100, which that's what it looks like. It looks like we're subtracting 100. Now let's see if that works to get, if we do that to this negative 16, get a number here, then do it again, do we get to the negative 216? So if we subtract 100 twice, does the pattern connect? So then let's do it the first time, we get negative 116. Do it a second time, we do get negative 216, so the pattern does connect. We found the right missing term. Same thing here, looks to be another subtracting pattern. This time we're subtracting 7 each time. So we'll go back and subtract 7 here. We get negative 33. Subtract 7 again, we do get negative 40. So we have found the right number for that missing blank. All right, a few more of these. Again, copy them into your notes, pause the video if you need to. We're told that these are multiplying patterns. So we don't have to guess what type of operation is in between these numbers. We do have to figure out what we're multiplying by. You can do it by guess and check. Just keep multiplying numbers to 72 until you get 432. Or you can work backwards, do 432 divided by 72, and you'll figure out what number 72 must be multiplied by to get 432. And that number is 6. 72 times 6 is 42. So these steps here must also be times 6 steps, and we'll just make sure that it connects. So 2 times 6 is 12. 12 times 6 is 72. We did fill in the blank correctly. Same thing over here. We realize that this is a times 2 pattern. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. The pattern connects. All right, last one's the do now. we now have 2 blanks that we have to fill in. But for this first one, we at least have 2 numbers next to each other, and we're told that this is an adding pattern. So we can figure out from those 2 pieces of information that this is a +6 pattern each time. Now just go back and just add 6 twice to fill in these 2 blanks. And then do it one more time to make sure that the pattern connects. So 15 plus 6 is 21, 21 plus 6 is 27, 27 plus 6 is 33. So the pattern connects, we filled in the blanks correctly. Now this is our hardest type. We don't have 2 numbers next to each other, we just have the gap in between. So let's figure out how do I get from -20 to 10, and then we'll subdivide that jump there. To get from -20 to 10, I must add 30 each time. You could get that by doing 10 minus a -20. That's how you can get the 30. Alright, now between that -20 and the 10, we need to actually make 1, 2, 3 jumps. So I need to split that plus 30 into 3 sections, so I'll just divide it by 3 and realize that each step must be a +10 step. Now let's fill in these 2 numbers and make sure that the pattern connects. -20 plus 10 is a -10, -10 plus 10 is a 0, 0 plus 10 is a 10. We've got the 2 correct middle numbers here. Okay, so that's how we can fill in the blanks into the middle of sequences. But our goal for today is to be able to write tables to represent patterns. Why are we doing this? So we can organize the information given to us by a pattern. Alright, so here is a pattern. It's labeled the different images in this pattern as pictures, but we like to sometimes call them figures. Pictures fine. They didn't label this first one, but judging by the pattern and what we know about how to number off our figures, this must be picture 0. So for each of these pictures, I want to encode 2 pieces of information into my table. I want to encode the picture number and then something about this pattern that is numerical. For this one, I'm going to do the number of tiles in that pattern. So put a box around it just to kind of group together the name with the picture. And then to create my table, I draw a T. At the top of the T, I write down words to express the numbers in each column. So for this first column, this is the picture number. And in the second column, I'm going to count up the number of tiles. Alright, and then each picture gets its own row, so picture 0 has 1 tile. Count it up, 1. Alright, picture 2, or I skipped ahead. Picture 1 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiles. Picture 2, if I count them up, has 9. Now you might start to notice a pattern. We're adding 4 each time, which makes sense because we're adding 1 to each of the ends of this X, and there's 4 ends, so we're adding 4 blocks each time. So picture 3 should have 13. We can count them up to double check. It should work out. And picture 4 should have 17. Alright, we can count them up to double check. Now we haven't even drawn picture 5, but we can use that pattern to figure out that if we were to draw picture 5, it would probably have 21 tiles in it. Alright, here's another one. Pause the video, sketch it. We'll label each of these a figure. So we've got figure 0, figure 1, figure 2. And what I want to encode in my table is the figure number and the number of blocks. Alright, so figure number 0 has 1 block, so I put a 0 across from a 1. Figure number 1 has 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks. And figure 2 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blocks. Now here, this is not an adding pattern. This time we added plus 4, then we added 5. Next up, we would actually add 7. So the amount we're adding follows an adding pattern, but this adding pattern is like 2 layers deep. So figure 3 would actually probably have 16 blocks. And then we would add 9 blocks to get to the next one, because we're adding a much bigger base each time to this sideways or cross section of a pyramid. Okay, and here's a more challenging one. Can we create a table for this? Alright, so figure number of blocks. We need to really stretch our mind to be able to figure out how many blocks are in this, since we can't necessarily see all of them. Some of them are hidden behind the shape. So figure 0 has just 1 block. Figure 1, let's see if we can mentally count this up. 1, the hidden 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Figure 2, so that top part is 6, then it's going to have an additional 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And I'll let you try to see if you can figure out what figure 3 would be. Let's see, it went plus 5, plus 9. I think the next one's going to be plus 13. I think it's going to be 28, but you might have to draw it out or try to count it up in your mind's eye. Because the next layer down to this pyramid would be 7 plus 6 more would be 13 more. So yeah, I'm pretty sure about that 28 number. Okay, I'll embed a few more questions for you here, but that's the end of this video. Have a good rest of your day.